My sister turned everyone against me at her wedding. So I uncovered the secret she thought was buried and ended the celebration with the truth. I'm Emma, 24 years old, and I've always tried to keep the peace with my family. But after what happened at my sister's wedding, I don't think I'll ever look at them the same way again. My sister Olivia is 22, and growing up, she was the kind of person who could charm any room she walked into. She was the star student, the favored daughter, the one everyone bent over backwards for. She got engaged to Mark, a seemingly perfect guy, successful, well-liked, from a good family. I was stunned. What drama? I hadn't done anything. The final straw was a family group chat that Olivia created for wedding planning. I was left out entirely. When I confronted her, she said it was a private group for those involved. I was hurt and confused, but I tried to respect her wishes. She began planning this wedding that everyone was supposed to remember forever. I thought maybe, despite everything, she'd warm up and acknowledge me. But from the moment I arrived, it felt like I was invisible. I started with the people closest to us, those I had trusted before, the ones who had once greeted me warmly or called to check in on me. I wanted to know what Olivia had told them. The first conversation was with my Aunt Caroline, who was like a second mother to me when we were kids. What problems? What things from the past? Carolyn hesitated again, then spoke quietly. It's about what happened with the old family business, your part in it. Where would she even get an idea like that? She wasn't just trying to make me look bad. She was building an entire narrative to destroy my reputation. I needed proof to refute these accusations. So I started digging through old records, emails, anything related to the family business. I wasn't a part of the day-to-day, but I had always kept copies of correspondence and financial documents from my time helping with some projects years ago. What I found was shocking, not because of anything I had done, but because of what Olivia had done. Mark shrugged. I don't know. She said she had evidence but didn't want to share it with the whole family. Said it was better you didn't come around. She said that you made some bad decisions that cost the family a lot. Olivia has been very hurt about it. She said she tried to protect the family from you, but it was hard. It was clear she was covering her own mistakes by accusing me. One email stood out, a message from Olivia to a senior manager instructing him to make sure Emma is the scapegoat if anything goes wrong. The coldness in that sentence hit me like a punch. I wasn't just fighting rumors. I was fighting a lie engineered by my own sister to protect herself and maintain her spotless image. My heart pounded. The family business? I hadn't been involved in any business decisions for years. I called her hesitantly, not knowing what to expect. I needed to understand exactly what Olivia had told people. So I reached out to another cousin, Mark, someone I had grown up close to but hadn't spoken to much lately. When I asked him point blank, he looked uncomfortable. Olivia said you betrayed the family's trust, that you leaked confidential information to competitors and put the business at risk, he said slowly. She told us she didn't want to cause drama, but this was serious. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Carolyn, I need to ask you something, I began. Did Olivia say anything to you about me before or during the wedding? It felt like an exile. Then came the reception, and things got worse. Well, Emma, she said carefully, Olivia's been very upset about some things from the past. She's been telling us she feels like you've been difficult, that you caused problems when you were younger and that you never really changed. Olivia gave a speech that seemed less like a thank you and more like a veiled attack on me without naming names. The bridesmaids barely greeted me, and Olivia made sure to avoid me entirely. The whole room turned cold, and eyes kept drifting to me like I was the villain of some story I'd never been told. That's when I realized Olivia had carefully painted me as the bad guy. But why? What had I done to deserve this? I was invited to help with some of the details, but even then, I felt like I was an afterthought. There were little things I noticed that should have been red flags, but I ignored them. I was always the quiet, reliable sibling, the one who stayed in the background, avoided drama, and tried to stay out of trouble. I talked to relatives, friends, even old neighbors. The more I learned, the more I understood that Olivia had been weaving a narrative about me, one that cast me as selfish, unreliable, and even dangerous. But what shocked me most was what I found buried deep in our family history. Something Olivia thought was long forgotten, something she desperately wanted to keep secret. "I've got it covered," she said, her voice sharp, like she was annoyed I was even there. After the wedding, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong beneath the surface of all the smiles and polite conversation. Olivia had constructed this flawless image of herself, the perfect daughter, perfect sister, perfect bride, and I had been cast as the outsider, a troublemaker. When I tried to bring up concerns about the guest list because I knew a few people who could cause trouble, she dismissed me with a laugh. "Emma, don't be paranoid. It's my day, not yours." I thought we had a decent enough relationship as adults, but I was wrong. Invitations went out, and I started hearing whispers from relatives. Some of them, people I'd considered close, said things like, "Olivia told us not to invite Emma to the rehearsal dinner," or "She's asked us not to discuss family matters with her." I reached out to Olivia, trying to clear the air. "Why are you shutting me out?" I asked over the phone one evening. Her answer was ice cold. "I'm not shutting you out." Dead wrong. It all started when Olivia got engaged about a year ago. I was genuinely happy for her. When we met for brunch to talk about the seating arrangement, Olivia barely looked at me and brushed off my suggestions. As the weeks went on, the tension grew. "I'm protecting my day from the drama you always bring." On the day of the wedding, I showed up early to help. During the ceremony, Olivia glared at me from across the room, and I overheard guests whispering, "She's not really part of the family anymore." She talked about family members who never stood by me, about lies and betrayals, and about choosing loyalty over blood. Over the next few days, I started digging. It involved a mistake from our childhood, one that she had twisted to make me look like the culprit. I was determined to find out how she managed to convince everyone in our family to turn against me so completely, because it feels like she's been telling people I'm some kind of problem. There was a pause on the other end. I felt a pit form in my stomach. Difficult? Problems? That didn't sound like me. I pressed her for details. The only thing I had done was work quietly at my own job, far from the family's ventures. That was an outright lie. "I never did that," I told him. At this point, I realized Olivia's campaign was deeper and darker than I'd imagined. There were emails between her and some external consultants, Conversations about hiding expenses, misreporting profits, and even shifting blame for failed deals onto me without evidence. That wasn't all. Digging further, I found evidence that Olivia had approached certain family members privately before the wedding, spinning stories about me to sway their opinions. She even convinced some of them to block me from key family events, all under the guise of protecting the family. My parents, who had always been somewhat distant, were now firmly on her side. I'd sent them messages asking for a conversation, but they either ignored me or responded with vague statements about family unity and moving forward. The realization that Olivia had manipulated my own family people I had once trusted was heartbreaking. I knew I had the evidence I needed, but the question was when and how to reveal it. Olivia's wedding was over, but the damage she had done was still fresh. The family was fractured, and I was left isolated. I started planning my next move carefully. I couldn't just storm in with accusations. I needed to be strategic. But what really pushed me over the edge was a phone call from my mother's closest friend, Helen, someone I had always considered impartial. "Stop digging, or you'll force us to choose." I could feel the eyes on me as I entered. When the speeches began, I quietly approached the microphone. I had screenshots, recordings, and legal backing. Neither did my parents, and I never offered forgiveness. Because sometimes people aren't just flawed, they're willfully cruel. Today, I am free. Free from their expectations, their labels, their conditional love that was really control. The truth destroyed their illusion, not me. And though my family's name may never recover from what I exposed, I walk with no shame. The shame belongs to Olivia, the sister who built her world on lies, and to the family who helped her keep it standing until I knocked it down. My lawyer sent her a cease and desist. Eventually, news of her financial mismanagement reached the family business's board. Quietly, she was stripped of her role. Months later, at a final family dinner, I laid out the truth one last time. No one defended Olivia. She sat in silence, her hands clenched. After that, I walked out and never looked back. In the years that followed, I rebuilt my life outside of them. "I know I'm not supposed to be here," I began, voice steady. "But what you don't know is the truth about Olivia and what she spent years hiding." I held up the journal and read aloud the entries describing Olivia's thefts and how she blamed me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Olivia's face drained of color. She stood up, trembling with anger. "Emma, you're lying. This is some sick attempt to ruin my life." But the mood had shifted. Relatives came forward with their own stories, suspicious financial reports, whispered lies Olivia had told to keep them on her side. The fallout didn't wait. That was the family ultimatum. They were either blind to Olivia's deception or had chosen to turn a blind eye for the sake of appearances. That only made me more determined. To break the spell Olivia had cast, I had to go bigger. The perfect opportunity came at Olivia's first anniversary party, an extravagant affair at the same venue as the wedding. I wasn't invited, but this time I wasn't going to be left out. I arranged to get on the guest list through a contact, making sure I had a seat front and center. The night of the party, the venue was buzzing. Meanwhile, Olivia continued to act like nothing was wrong. "If you come after her, things won't go the way you expect." In the days that followed, the damage spread. Text chains buzzed with arguments. My parents, of course, refused to believe me. A week later, they called an urgent family meeting, which turned out to be a staged intervention. "You've embarrassed us," my father said. "You're tearing this family apart." My mother added, "You're forcing us to take sides." Then they delivered the final blow. They could no longer include me in family matters. They were choosing Olivia. That meeting broke something in me, but it also hardened me. If they wanted to cling to her lies, I wouldn't fight anymore. Some relatives, like Aunt Caroline and Mark, apologized for doubting me. It was a thinly veiled threat, but also a confirmation that Olivia knew I was preparing to strike. I didn't reveal everything, not yet. I simply asked them to meet me for coffee. At those meetings, I shared parts of the evidence, emails where Olivia planned to blame me, excerpts from Grandma's journal, and records of mismanaged funds traced back to her. The reactions were slow at first. Some were shocked, some defensive, but many couldn't deny the inconsistencies in Olivia's story once faced with facts. Behind the scenes, Olivia's camp was rallying too. My parents' responses grew colder, more calculated. After that warning call, I spent days holed up in my apartment, surrounded by printed emails, faded journals, and old photographs, piecing together the full story. Every document pointed to the same truth. Olivia had orchestrated a campaign of lies for years about the family business, about me, about our past, all to protect her reputation. She posted happy photos online, thanking everyone for their support, painting a picture of a joyful, united family. But I knew the cracks were there. Then, a week ago, I got a call from one of her closest friends, someone I didn't expect. "I'm sorry to do this, Emma, but Olivia is worried." "Helen, I need to ask, why is everyone acting like I'm the bad one? What has Olivia told you?" Helen sighed deeply. "Emma, I'm sorry." The journal detailed how Olivia had been caught stealing from the family business, not once, but multiple times. When confronted, she'd spun a tale that I was the thief, that I had orchestrated a betrayal to ruin her. Grandma had been heartbroken, but with no solid proof, and Olivia's charm working on everyone else, the blame quietly shifted to me. Olivia had somehow convinced everyone that I was the one responsible and that she was the innocent victim. I realized then that Olivia's entire campaign was about one thing: protecting herself at any cost, even if it meant destroying her own sister's life and reputation. "Olivia made us all believe you were reckless and untrustworthy. She showed us documents and messages that proved you were a threat to the family business. I don't know what's true, but most of us have no reason to doubt her." I tried to argue, but Helen was firm. "Maybe it's better to step back for a while." That was the moment I realized the fight wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. It was about exposing the truth behind Olivia's carefully constructed web of lies. And that truth was more explosive than I had imagined. I remembered an old box of family photos and journals that our grandmother left behind when she passed away. There were letters, diaries, things Olivia would never want anyone to see. One particular journal entry mentioned a secret Olivia desperately wanted to keep hidden. A major scandal involving her behavior as a teenager, one that had caused serious problems for our family's reputation. I began piecing together the timeline, matching dates in the journal to family events, uncovering how Olivia had spun lies to rewrite history. I began compiling everything, the emails, the documents, the journal entries, ready to present the truth in a way that would be undeniable. She asked me to warn you, but the secret she wanted buried? That was the real dagger. My first move was subtle. I sent carefully worded messages to a few family members I still had a chance with, including Aunt Carolyn and Cousin Mark. One evening, my mother sent me a text. "We want peace. Emma." Olivia was radiant, playing the perfect hostess. People began stepping away from Olivia, making excuses to leave. Olivia, meanwhile, retaliated, spreading distorted versions of events, even contacting my former employer to discredit me. But I was prepared. Olivia's name became a whispered cautionary tale. She never apologized.